NBA free agency day one rolls on, and we have so much to get to here on Philadelphia 76ers Now. We're live on the channel, so if you're watching this right now, come hang out here with us. If you're watching right now just on a regular video, we certainly appreciate that, because no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making our free agency coverage a part of your day. Earlier, we gave you a Paul George update. Then we talked about Andre Drummond signing with Philadelphia. Now we have two more developments to get to. Number one, the Philadelphia 76ers are signing sharpshooter, who's a little bit older, Eric Gordon, to a one-year deal worth the vet min. And then we have a Woj bomb on the Paul George front. The Los Angeles Clippers released a statement that Paul George will not return to the Clippers. They are far apart on a deal, and Paul George has informed them he's signing with a different team. All other teams have really dropped out of the Paul George race, according to reports, and Philadelphia and their contingent of Daryl Morey, Nick Nurse are going to meet with PG in California tonight, and we could see a deal happen over the next couple of hours, and when that happens, we'll talk about it live, and we'll break it down here on the show. We'll get to PG down the road here in just a few moments in this video, but first, let's talk about Eric Gordon here. Shams Charania breaking the news that Eric Gordon has agreed to a deal with Philadelphia, sources tell The Athletic, as well as Stadium. Eric Gordon is a Daryl Morey favorite. This is an analytically sound player as far as his ability to knock down the three-point shot. This move, I'm fine with it. He's older. He's been in the league for 16 years. He is going to be 36 years old in December, but it's a vet min. And you need to find ways to fill out your roster with vet min players if you're going to sign a Paul George, and the Sixers are also reported to have interest in Klay Thompson, and they're going to have a meeting with him. So you have my mind churning now, and I'm already thinking about Sixers lineups with Tyrese Maxey at the 1, Klay Thompson at the 2, Paul George at the 3. You have Joel Embiid at the 5, and then you figure out that 4 spot. And maybe you go with the player like Najee Marshall. Maybe you make a trade for Dorian Finney-Smith. But the point here is that you need to fill out the back end of your roster. You have Jared McCain, you have Ricky Council, you have Adem Bona, and now Eric Gordon. Numbers over the last 4 years for him. What's important? To hone in on the three-point numbers. That's really his game. And when he was with the Houston Rockets, when Daryl Morey was running basketball ops there alongside James Harden, he was that player who hovered around the three-point arc, and he chucked a lot. For his career from distance, Eric Gordon has connected on 37% of his three-point attempts, and that comes on about 6.2 three-pointers per game. Last year, with the Phoenix Suns, it was a disaster for Phoenix, but he played pretty solid basketball, and the production was good. 11 points per game, 44% from the field, almost 38% from three-point range. In his last couple of years, 2023, 2024, almost 38%, as I said. The year before that, he connected on 37% of his threes, but with the Clippers, it was at 42.3%. In 2021, 2022, 41.2%, and then the year before that, he was injured a lot. Injuries have been a little bit of a concern, but look at the games played the last 3 years. Been a pretty durable player, 68, 69, 57 games played the last 3 campaigns. So Eric Gordon on a vet min, you will live with that. He will come in off the bench. He is very seasoned. He's played in a lot of playoff games. He has familiarity with Daryl Morey, and he gives the Sixers something that they need, and that's a three-point shooter. Now, if they bring in Paul George, it probably signifies Kelly Oubre, not going to be that wing, so you need to address that wing spot. You do it with Paul George, right? Backup wing, we'll certainly see Eric Gordon more of a 2-guard and a shooting guard traditionally. We'll get to Paul George in a moment, but first, Chip, your thoughts on adding Eric Gordon here for very little money.
Yeah, just real quick again. Going to be a minimum contract, a perfect signing to have a player off the bench who's experienced, been in the league a long time, and can provide you a valuable skill set, which is spacing the floor and knocking down threes. Sixers need more reliable players from that aspect of the game, and Eric Gordon can do that. Familiarity with Daryl Morey, of course. just a great signing to fill out the roster on, again, a bargain deal, not paying him anything, and a player that is going to be able to contribute. You hope that, with his experience and his time in the league, that come playoff time, he should be able to give you some minutes. Not going to be a good defender. That's fine. You're not asking him to do really anything other than shoot the 3 ball. Can't do much else than that. But again, for a minimum contract, for a veteran guy, perfect fit. Great pickup here for the Sixers as they looked around at that rotation around. Seems like it's going to be Paul George. And like the fit, Maxey, Embiid, need guys that can catch and shoot from the three-point line. Eric Gordon can do just that.
And now let's get to the latest on Paul George here. Adrian Wojnarowski with a Woj bomb that took place just moments ago as we sit here just before 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, June 30th, day 1, night 1, NBA free agency. 2 tweets that we want to get to, and then oddly enough, the Clippers released a statement that they put together very quickly about Paul George no longer being with the organization after 5 years. So here's tweet number 1, ESPN sources. Paul George's agent, Aaron Mintz of CAA, and Clippers president Lawrence Frank had a conversation a short time ago that resulted in no new movement on a deal and an acknowledgement by both George and the Clippers that he is unlikely to return to the Clippers. The Clippers' exit leaves the 76ers as strong frontrunners to land PG on a free agent deal. The Sixers contingent is set to meet with George in California tonight. And then the Clippers release this statement here that I haven't seen an organization do something like this for a player that meant a lot to them. He was there for 5 years, but it's not like they won a title. They made it to 1 Western Conference Finals in his 5 years. And they're telling everybody that Paul George told us that he's gone. So Paul has informed us that he is signing his next contract with another team. A lot of people believe that team is Philadelphia. Paul's a tremendous talent and an elite two-way player. We feel fortunate for the 5 years we spent with him. Over that span, he went to 3 All-Star games, made the most three-pointers in franchise history, and helped lead the team to a place it had never been. His performances in Game 5 and 6 against Utah in 2021 won't be forgotten by anyone associated with the Clippers. Chip, that is a team and an organization that has had no playoff success or very little playoff success if they're going to talk about Games 5 and 6 against Utah in a second-round series. We traded a lot to pair Paul and Kawhi, and in exchange we had 5 years of contention. And even though we fell short of our ultimate objective, we appreciate the chances we had with Paul George. Heading into this offseason, our roster was constructed with 3 great players, 33 years old and over, 2 of whom would become free agents. They re-signed James Harden, 2 years, 70, by the way. We wanted to retain them on contracts that would allow us, under the constraints of the new CBA, to continue building the team. We negotiated for months with Paul and his representative on a contract that would make sense for both sides, and we were left far apart. The gap was significant, and we've talked about that gap here on the show. Clippers wanted to give him 3 for $150. The Sixers can give him 4 for $212. So that's a big gap right there. And I think the Sixers, this isn't a biased take, are a better basketball situation. We understand and respect Paul's decision to look elsewhere for his next contract. We explored an opt-in trade scenario, but it would have left us in a similar position under the new CBA with very little asset value to justify the restrictions. We will miss Paul. At the same time, we're excited by the opportunities we've now been afforded, including greater flexibility under the new CBA. And then they talk about Kawhi, all-NBA player. We believe Ty Lue, best coach in the league. We will field a highly competitive team this year, and moving forward, use our organizational advantages to bring top talent to Intuit Dome. So Paul George, not going to come back to the Clippers, and you had the Magic signing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to a 3-year, $66 million deal. So it just is aligning right now that Paul George is going to sign with the Sixers. And I continue to say this. For those of you who don't want to give Paul George a long-term deal worth a lot of money, given the age, the injury concerns, and him having some shortcomings in playoff games, you are upgrading from Tobias Harris to Paul George. And the difference between those 2 players on both ends of the floor is significant. This is a wing who the Sixers have not had since Jimmy Butler, who can score from all three levels and defend at an extraordinarily high rate. Of course, the games played are a problem. 54, 31, 56, and 74 over the last 4 years. But what did Paul George do this past year? Of course, in a contract year, yes, 74 games played. He was available. Averaged 22.5 points per game, 47% from the field, and 41% from three. In closeout situations, down the stretch in games, he was excellent. And you're not talking about him as the number one or the number two. Paul George becomes the number three alongside Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. So this is a great fit for Philadelphia, a really good player, and you upgrade from Tobias Crumble Cookie Harris to Paul George here. And it is just a massive upgrade offensively and defensively for Philadelphia. There are always risks with paying an older player, but this was the best solution left. This was the best player left. This was the number one free agent here, and Philadelphia may be getting him if it rings true. If they don't, it's a kick in the balls, but we're used to that. What do you make of this, Chip?
Look, I will say this about Paul George. These types of players, with his archetype and his skill set, are rare in the NBA. When you can get a 6'8", 6'9" wing who has the handle of a 6'2", 6'3" guard, can get to the rim, is one of the best catch and shoot three-point wings in the league. You think of Paul George, you think he's a superstar, goes off the dribble, and he does that a lot, and he's very good at that. But he's also tremendous in the catch and shoot game.
Yep.
He will be a perfect fit on the wing with Maxey and Embiid. He is a tremendous defender. Tremendous defender. When you talk about the teams the Sixers have to face, the Celtics, he can guard Jaylen Brown. He can guard Jason Tatum. He can do that. He has the size, the quickness, the wingspan, everything to do that.
Yep.
Talk about the Knicks. He'd be a great player to throw at Jalen Brunson. A great player to throw at Jalen Brunson. He's tall, but he's fast. He's quick. He can guard those little guys. He can guard the big guys. Look, you're going to be paying him a lot of money. And he's going to be getting up there in age. And the injury concerns are definitely a real thing. But we've been clamoring for Daryl Morey to go all in and to build a contender, to use his cap space to create a team that can make a run to the finals.
Yep.
And the Celtics are a great team. The Knicks are a great team. The Sixers needed to rise to that level of being a great team, and adding Paul George does just that. I like the way they're filling out the roster around him. And for everybody saying, this is another Tobias Harris. If the Sixers had Paul George instead of Tobias Harris, they win that series against the Knicks.
I think so.
No doubt in my mind.
Because who's guarding Jalen Brunson down the stretch? It's Paul George. It's not Kelly Oubre. It's not an old Nick Batum. It's PG. That's who's defending Jalen Brunson in that first round series. You want a wing to defend Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown? It's Paul George. It's no longer Tobias Harris. That right there in and of itself, a huge upgrade. We have 1,500 people watching live right now on 76ers Now. We have been live now for nearly 4 hours for our free agency special. We'll be live again tomorrow, bringing you the latest. This is why you subscribe to the channel. I don't believe anybody on YouTube has the level of dedication, the level of care, and any other channel gives you informative, insightful, thought-provoking analysis that involves you, the subscriber. So do us a favor, hit that sub button, and let's get to 17,000 subs.